All right. Hello, everybody. Nancy Matthews here with a special Friday edition of a broadcast where I get to introduce you to someone really extraordinary. I've known this woman for several years now, and she's known as the change master. And sometimes when I think about that term, it's like the change master. Is she cracking a whip? No, she's not cracking a whip. She is, lovingly and expertly supporting you to truly achieve your goals and your dreams. So today we have with us Sandra Nunes. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited about the conversation, and I see we have a few people that have joined us. So, welcome to our post. Go ahead and say hello in the chat, and we will be right alongside you. And if you have a question, you can post it there as well. And so, Sandra Nunes is an entrepreneur. She's a woman who has been through many changes, and many of the changes she's experienced weren't necessarily easy or fun. Can you relate? Change is not always easy, right? Right. And it's what's fascinating to me is, we say, I'm going to change this, I'm going to do that. And then we're like, I don't like change. So let's talk about that just a little bit.
Sure. It's just human nature. That's the way we're built, that we don't like change. We are creatures of habit. And once we get into a habit or a way of living or a way of being, we get comfortable with that. And we become sometimes even complacent with it and just believe that that's the way it should be. And a lot of times it's what we're telling ourselves about that situation and
Yeah.
then tending to believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So here's a question for you because Sandra, you've been through, as I referenced, lots of different changes. Some of the changes you wanted, some were changes thrust upon you, and I think we've all been through both of those cycles. So what would you say for someone who is, going through, we're in difficult times right now. And lots of things have changed over the last year for sure. And, somebody might be feeling a little, stuck or not thinking they even have a choice. Let's go there. What about people who just feel trapped by their circumstances?
Absolutely, Nancy. That's the most um, biggest part of not being able to move forward and not being able to make the changes that you want to make in your life. You're thinking about the changes you want. You want something to change, and what's happening is what you're feeling and what you're believing in your current situation is that there's just no way I can do this. How am I going to survive on my own? How am I going to leave this job and go to the next job when I'm 47 years old and I no one's going to hire me because I'm too old? Or it's all of these stories that you end up telling yourself about why you should not change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets you stuck in those situations. And you just feel lost. You feel like you're not, like you don't have power to make those changes
Right.
because this is what life has dished out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you found yourself in a position quite like that. So why don't we tell our viewers today a little bit about some of the things you've been through and how you've come out of them. And let me say good morning to Rochelle and Pat Rogers. Dorothy May is here. So thank you for joining the conversation. Please keep any questions or comments coming in the chat because these are nuggets. We all want to grow. We all want to make changes and have better lives. And it's not always easy. So Sandra, tell a little bit about, your situation here. You were, in a job, and here's what happens when we have jobs or a certain particular career that we have, we feel handcuffed almost by the lifestyle we've created based upon the income that provides. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, in my situation, I was in a job that just was not gratifying at all. It was very stressful. Just like everybody else, a lot of people are working, 60, 70 hours a week with piles of work on their desk up to here. And there's just no way of seeing over that pile that you're going to get through it because you're already working all this overtime. And I was in this situation. I was totally stressed all the time. I felt like I was giving all of myself to everyone else, to the job, and then coming home and taking care of home and family and giving my time out to everyone. I had nothing left for me.
So in the chat, go ahead and tell me in the comments, have you felt that? Because I know I have. Feeling completely depleted, no way out, waking up every day. It's just got to do this next, got to do this next. And I think whether you're working for someone else and sometimes even in your own business, that can happen.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, in the corporate job that I had, felt like I was constantly being passed over for promotion.
Mm.
So that was another frustration that I had. I didn't feel like I was being heard. And I thought to myself, I can't, you know, at least I have this job. At least I have this job and I have a paycheck coming in, even though I wasn't happy with the job. And how can I go somewhere else being listened to here? And I've been here for so many years and they don't seem to care about what I have to say. How is anybody in another place going to care about what I have to say? So I'm, you know, running all these things through my head and these stories that I'm telling myself about my current situation because I just don't see another way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kept me there for the 16 years that I was there.
Wow, 16 years.
Yeah, 16 years. Yeah. And
so what was the turning point? Because obviously you're not there anymore.
right. Yes, I'm not there anymore. And it's been a long time now since I wasn't 7 years, going on 7 years this year. Before I gone from there, I ended up with all of the stress I was under and not having any time for me.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up receiving a diagnosis of cancer. And that was a huge turning point for me because after I finished my treatment, I was home and I finished my treatment. I went back to that job. I still had to see specialists and they don't have evening and weekend hours. So I had to go during lunch and sometimes I'd come back late. And that was completely unacceptable that I would come back late from a doctor's appointment that I had to go to. So there was
after devoting how many years of your life to this company?
At that point, it was about almost 15.
Right.
Yeah, about 15 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, how can that be? I mean, this is ridiculous. And so talk about another added stress of having to deal with that and being afraid all the time to come back late from a doctor's appointment. So that was a turning point for me. And when I went back to work, I started to notice things differently. I started to see how it was just unfair, some of the treatment, how it was, favored to some people and not others. And I started to speak up about it. And so I think that was in part one of the reasons why I was given my freedom from that 6-year job that I thought I could rely on, because I wasn't going to take any of it anymore. You were done. I spoke up. Yeah, I stood up and I spoke up, and I guess they didn't like it. So I'm thankful and grateful that happened because it pushed me into the direction of starting my own business.
Well, and let's be clear here. You're thankful today. I'm thinking maybe then you weren't.
No, I was not.
Looked at it, right?
I was so afraid to go home and tell my husband at the time that I lost my job.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what he was going to say. So again, it's just one stress on top of another stress on top of another stress.
Well, and let me point out, so we're going to come back to, we're here with Sandra Nunes, who is known as the Change Master. She has successfully been through so many changes in her life, and she expertly guides you in moving through the changes that you want and also the ones that are thrust upon you. So just wanted to recap for someone who might be just joining us. And when you said this piece about, I was afraid to go home and tell my husband that I lost my job, I think that fear of what other people are going to say, what other people are going to think when we want to step out and do something differently is a big part of what keeps us in the status quo.
Yes,
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We won't make change because we're afraid of what the outside is going to, how the outside's going to react, how they're going to feel,
Right.
what they're going to say, how they're going to judge you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you lose it? What did you do? You lost your job. What did you do? You know, and that's what ultimately causes people to stay in a situation that is not necessarily the best situation for them.
Right.
Is the fear of what everyone else is going to think about them. And that was part of it. That definitely was part of it. Because if I would have left the job on my own and then not found another job, there was that situation too. It was like, okay, you didn't get another job. When are you going to get another job? And there'll be all of that going around. So that's another reason for staying, because I don't want to hear that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of factors in there that keep people from really wanting to, really changing what they want to change, and most of it is fear.
Yeah,
Because of the
most of
stories
it.
you told.
Yeah, most of it is fear. And then I want to go a little bit deeper with this, because there's also a piece, and let's talk about the changes we want to make in our lives, right? So we want to make these changes in our lives, and I put a plan together and I set my goals, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and everything's going to be great. And then over time, I mean, statistics show, like when people set their New Year's resolutions, typically, within anywhere from 2 days, I think, to 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
80% of people have put those on the by the wayside. And let's talk a little bit about, the psychology behind that happening, because I believe we all start off with the greatest of intentions. Right. If we go back to the beginning of the year, and maybe the beginning of this year was a little bit different, I would agree with that. But people are still setting plans and making goals. So what's some of the psychology behind why does that happen?
And believe it or not, it's some of the same fears. Yeah, it's fear is the bottom line, and then it's for different reasons. So now you're looking at, okay, I started something, and I'm doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and is it really going to work? Am I going to do this? Am I really able to do this? Am I capable? And then there starts all of those stories with the fear. And one of the other things too is, as humans, we want things like this. We want everything yesterday.
Instant gratification. Yeah. That's why we love Amazon.
Yes. Today delivery, thank you very much. And how frustrated was everybody in, over the holidays with COVID and what's going on, and how everything got slowed down.
Yeah.
How many people didn't receive their Christmas cards on time, their presents for their, loved ones on time? And we want that instant gratification, definitely. And when you're working on a change, it doesn't happen overnight. There is no magic pill. There is no, red Staples button that you can, press that's going to be like presto, and it's there. It takes time and it takes practice, because if you think about it, it didn't take you overnight to create the habit or the circumstance that you're in that you want to change to begin with, right? It may have taken years.
That's very true.
It doesn't necessarily have to take years to change it. It's also not going to happen overnight. Exactly. So a lot of times when we don't see results right away, we just, oh, this is not working, forget it, I might as well not bother.
Well, and I think when, you try to do something and it doesn't work out the way you hoped, that actually can feed into this little voice inside you that was going, you probably can't do it anyway. Oh yeah, you're always going to be like, blah, 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 and so one little mistake or misstep gets interpreted as failure, as opposed to feedback and information. Okay, that didn't work. Let me try this now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I found that was helpful is to try and change the language that I use when I'm talking to myself. Make it a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
So that you're not telling yourself, you weren't able to do this. You knew all along. Those are the things that need to change in order for you to make those changes in your life. And that's where we work on changing the habit, and looking at the triggers that cause those behaviors. And we get into a whole, practice and system of being able to get past those things that block us, which is the fear of the unknown, the stories we're telling ourselves that we believe is true, changing those to something different that's going to best serve us, so we can get through those changes instead of putting them aside. Like you said, 80% of the people have already put their goals and resolutions aside from the new year within 3 weeks.
Well, and
you can stop that.
Right. So there's a way you can stop that. And I know that's one of the things that you share with people. You've got a class coming up, a free class that you're going to be sharing some of the little known ways to get rid of those habits, thought patterns that aren't serving you. So if you're watching with us now and there's more I wanted to be getting done by this point at this time this year, you wanted to make some more changes, or maybe even if you're just listening in and you're in a situation that's not, fulfilling you, or maybe you feel stuck, come to Sandra's class. It's happening on March 3rd. And I'm going to throw back, I'll put the link up for you in a moment, but let me throw back to the question that I have. So you said, I changed the way that I was talking to myself. How did you know to do that? Did you just figure that out? Divine download said, oh, talk to yourself differently. How did you figure that out? Because when we're stuck in it, this mess between here, when I'm in the middle of my challenges, I don't have those insights.
Right. Yeah. No. There was a whole process that I had to go through. After I had completed the treatment that I was going through, a year later, I was sitting in my girlfriend's kitchen, and I was saying to her, I don't understand why I don't feel grateful for having survived cancer.
Wow.
People that went through what I went through wake up every morning and are grateful for another breath in their lungs. And that just wasn't how I was feeling. And she said to me, you need to read The Secret. I didn't know what it was all about. I researched it, found out it was a film first and then a book. And I started to watch the film, and it was about the law of attraction, like attracts like. And it also had a lot about gratitude in it. And I started watching it. And some of the things I was like, yeah, all right, okay, whatever. Because I wasn't familiar with the law of attraction. Right. I didn't know what it was about. And some of the things made sense to me. So the things that made sense to me was some of the gratitude practices. So I started to do some of those on a daily basis. And I was, being grateful for just little things. And the more little things I found to be grateful for, I ended up seeing more and more things coming into my life to be grateful about. So it began to be a practice. It's always a practice. It's always something you have to try and you have to keep on doing in order to really see some results. It didn't happen overnight, like I said. It took a while for it to happen. And then that started me on this personal growth journey of asking, there's got to be more to life than all of this. And I started researching more of the teachers from the Secret Law of Attraction, and I started following some of their practices and so on. I just this big mushroom, and then more and more people started coming into my life, into my experiences, who were talking more positively about themselves. And that's how I learned to do that, through all of this research and journey that I was on. And then I've developed a couple of tools of my own from what I had learned from some of the other tools and strategies to use to be able to change that. And I call it the CALM approach. And that's an acronym, for CALM, and each letter has its own meaning. And the L stands for language that, that results in positive, behavior. So that promotes positive behavior. And I've been using it ever since, and it makes such a big difference when you change the way you talk to yourself, because you have to understand your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions leads to habits, and your habits lead to your destiny, to your experience that shows up in your life. So when you can start changing the thoughts that come into your mind, you're going to start changing the way that you think about whatever it is that you're thinking about.
effect, right? One thing builds upon another.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I love that, the calm approach to change. So we started today's conversation acknowledging, we want to make changes, but then we really don't like change. Right? So in the human condition. So if we can have a calm approach to change, that sounds like the success path for it. So Sandra, thank you for being with us today. I know that you and I could go on for a while, and I also know that everybody's going to want more of you. So I've put the link below. Sandra's hosting a class next week, so you can register. It's a free class because she's really committed to helping us all be our best and get through all these changes, whether changes you want or changes that have been thrust upon you. So register. Go to growingwithsandra.com/gift. Sandra, any final thoughts for our viewers today?
Just remember that whatever you put your mind to is what you're going to get more of. Like I said, when I did the gratitude practice, I started to see more and more appear, more I was grateful for. So the more that you think about whatever it is you're thinking about, the more you're going to get of that. So make sure that when you're thinking of something, that you're thinking of the good thoughts.
Love it. Pick the good ones. Pick the good ones. And I'm going to pick a good one to wrap up today's broadcast, and that is Namaste. My soul honors your soul. I honor the place in you where love, light, truth, and peace reside. When you're in that place in you, and I'm in that place in me, we are one. Namaste. Bye, Sandra. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Register
you.
for the class. See you later. Bye.